Welcome back to JHGWoodCraft. I'm Jedi Hammond, and today we're going to do another tool review. So you guys probably remember one of my biggest viewed videos is on the Rockler panel clamps. Well, today I've got a new panel clamp we're going to try out. This is the SPETOOL clamps. They actually sent them to me, so full disclosure, although I did say, hey, they're going to get the review based off of my honest opinions, and regardless of how I came about the tool, whether I spent the money or they sent it. So you want me to do a review on the home built or shop built versions, which would be using unistrut and large bolts or all thread and some nuts. There's some other ways to do it, or even 2x4s. Put a comment down below. I'd say if I got 50 comments saying, yeah, do a review on that, I'll get the stuff, put it together, and we'll do a review on that. So for today, two things we're going to do. We're going to go through the review on the SPETOOL panel clamp, and I'll put links in the description where you can get it. So with that, let's get started. I haven't even opened this yet, other than just cutting it open to make sure I knew what it was. So this also gets a semi-unboxing. Here's the box it comes in. This does have, when I looked it up, it's got a unique, some hanging brackets that can be used to make a, to put on a French cleat for hanging it on the wall. We'll have to add that to this toward the end. See how that function works out. Oh. All right, so got two clamps, one box. All right, so these guys are definitely lighter than the Rockler version. Not a ton lighter, but a little bit. Of course, I think these are also slightly smaller. So that is, and actually for this, it's going to be a good thing because I think the other ones I did the review on were 36-inch. These are 24. Probably two parts to this video. You're going to get my initial reaction, and then I'll update with after having used it for a little bit on a couple projects. All right, so I'll start out with, I'm going to do the typical guy thing and just glance at the directions versus read them through. Let's see here. So looks like to start out with, we've got the pins hold the cauls together. So that's kind of nice. All the pieces are all in one place, so I could lift that up, slide the material through, or pull a pin from either side, raise the caul up, set it down. All right. Okay. I'll set that guy there. I'm going to take a glance. Let's see, because I'm expecting, we've got these on the tips here. If I can see that. You've got kind of a, what's the best angle for this? You know what? Let me take this off. There we go. All right, so this is your base rod. This is where we're going to set the material on. And here we've got a screw for clamping it tighter. So I'm assuming it's what we're going to use to push up against the other material. All right, that is what this guy is for. So this looks like this is the extent of the assembly. Got to put that little foot on there. It didn't come with an Allen, but that's okay. I end up with tons of these, the Allens, and then I just throw them away. So actually doesn't bother me at all. But I'm assuming whoever's doing this, you're getting these, will have Allens, but just know it also does not come with them. in case you're expecting that. I'm wondering as I'm looking at this, how the pressure on the other side is going to add pressure inward without indenting the material. That's what the other pin's for? Perchance. I think so. I'll be honest, this is the first of this type of tool or equipment that I've tried from SPETOOL. I've been pretty happy with their CNC bits, actually, because they're on the lower end cost-wise, but in my experience, the durability has been pretty good, which is usually the big challenge with the cheaper bits. All right, so the way these work, put these pins back in. So they're should be pretty quick and simple. I will say overdoing a homemade cauls, this is a lot faster. All right, and then this guy goes here. Bounce this all over the place. Okay, so far, material feels pretty good. This is steel. The nut for the pressure screw is made out of brass, and then looks like a stainless or at least a coated screw. We'll see how well those work over time. I don't see any reason for it to not continue to work well. That should leave pretty good durability. And then that screw is tied in here. So one thing I do like right away about these, seems like if there was a parts issue, it'd be pretty easy to fix or replace a part if you had to. Maybe drop it or something like that. The other thing these have is, notice there's screws down here, or screw holes. So, I mean, you could tie it down to your bench, but more likely, or what they're designed for is to make hangers, right? So you could put a French cleat on there, hang it up on the wall. You could probably, integrate it into whatever existing system you have. You just have to, you got the mounting screws here. I will say that some of the other solutions I've used do not have that, so this would give an additional benefit for hanging it up. All right, so with that, grab your drink and let's get started. All right, so I am starting in the middle of a build for a desktop. This is part 1 of 4 of the tops for a sound booth that I'm doing for our church. Because I am using split pieces in the middle, I'm going to put it together including biscuits. As part of this, I'm going to take advantage of my panel clamps. I do have some new panel clamps from SPETOOL. As we continue kind of doing a review on them, now I'm going to use it in what would be my more common projects. So this is a much larger panel, so obviously 2 clamps is not going to be enough, which is why I'm also including my larger cabinet clamps as well. And we'll see how things work out if I need to stick in the other panel clamps, just because of how many clamps I may need. So cool features with these that you can do is the way the cauls come off, just simply pins, pop that guy off, and that comes off. These look like they are set up they're like a 24-inch clamp. However, they do go actually a decent amount longer. It seems like to 29 inches almost. which is great because these panels are, or this desktop's going to be 27 inches. So if it had been a 24 inch, it wouldn't have been big enough. So let's see. Okay, so I guess that's one downside, is feeding this thing through without scratching it up. This kind of catches there. I think I'd have the same issue with other clamps. One thing I would, normally do, I might have the clamps laid out first. So I am going a little oversized here for what these clamps are supposed to do. What I'm going to do is, I've already flattened all of these, mostly. This one has a little bit in it, a little bit of a whoop-de-doo that I'm going to plane off after the project's done, and flatten the whole board again. So I don't worry about it getting exactly right to begin with, because then a lot of times they warp after the fact anyway. So I'm going to use biscuits. We're gonna glue them up. Like you can see here, I got two pieces in the center and these here, just making the most use of my material. And see how this glue up goes. In this case, I'm using Boss Dog glue. Met the guys that made it. That make it. It's a small family business, and I'm all for supporting the small guy, since I'm the small guy, and the small business guy. Unless the competition is just significantly better. Which actually I think their glue is actually a little superior. They're not sponsored. I buy their stuff outright. I may get some affiliate links from them. I haven't done that yet, but I probably will, because I do use their stuff and I like it. It's time for a glue up montage! The other thing I do anytime I'm making a panel, it's always oversized, so I can clean up my edges. If I'm not perfectly aligned, that's okay. Okay, my new SPETOOL clamp. Let's see how this guy pulls it in. Now, one of the things with these clamps, and I would say almost the only drawback that I've found so far, is because it uses a pin to index the wood, it does need a piece of material in between. So this guy goes here. Whoops, wrong size pin. The full size pin here, that fits in there. So when I pull this tight, it's going to pull up against that pin, And so you need to have something to support it. If you don't, and I'm actually going to pull this up here. So it's the other thing that, because I decided to do it the way I did it, these things are not at the same height as my panel clamps. I mean, as my cabinet clamps. So I kind of hold it up while I get that initial tighten. It might pull itself. I guess I could let go and see if it'll pull itself up. I guess it should, huh? If it's doing its job. I'm going to try that fully on the other one, see what happens. Okay, now, yeah, I don't know if you notice this pin here. Need to have that material there, otherwise that dents it. So you've got to make sure you've got that. I'm going to try this side without lifting it up, see if it pulls itself up. I mean, I guess the logic, it should, right? If the culls are automatically tightening, it should pull up. And that block's not small enough. We'll use this one. Okay. It did. It absolutely did. Yep. Okay, so that is answered. It absolutely will pull itself up. And the culls seem to be pulling that pretty tight, straight. That's nice. Nice and tight. I actually want to move, I'm going to move this one over a little bit. I'm going to get this spot. That's okay. Next time I will make sure that the material I'm using as my support is the same width. You can hear that material going crunch, crunch, crunch. Now, let's see what we're looking at. I will say those culls look like they're pulling it in pretty straight. Got nothing really to complain about. All right, so one thing with biscuits is that they do help with alignment. They'll get it close, but they intentionally have flap, right? They're loose. So they'll move around some or allow the material to move around some. And that's a knowing thing, a known thing. And we're starting to get that squeeze out. And like I said, squeeze out isn't everything. As long as I'm seeing a teeny tiny bit. Okay. There we go. We'll say I think I could have done a little bit better job. I think I've got a teeny bit of a like a 64th of a dip in this panel where I didn't get the jointer right on it. And that is all on me. Also got glue, my squeeze out throughout. Some places it's less than others. Definitely more here than like here, but I'm still getting it. So, like I was saying before, that's all that matters is at the end of the day that it is getting it. We'll say the reason why I'm getting more on this than on that one is because I only glued one side, which is okay. Like I said, as long as it's fully covered, you're getting a full touch. So one thing I'm going to do, these is always cinch them up real good, make sure you get full tight, and then back everything off like one turn. Found that even with the cauls, that with too much pressure, even with the cauls, the boards still want to buckle. And the pressure is important that you maintain those joints as tight as possible. But it doesn't have to be so tight that you're breaking your wood. It just needs to be really snug. So I go really tight to get it set, then back it out just a little bit. So everything, basically, if I have to work to turn it, it's too tight, then I'll let off and tighten it again for dry time. So at this point, we're going to let this dry. You saw how the clamps worked. We'll give it a review at the end here, talk about what I did and didn't like about the SPETOOL clamps. I would look forward to your comments down in the description. Okay, we're about ready to wrap this up. Pull the clamps off of the desktop that we're making here. So I've already loosened the cabinet clamps. See here, all this is really easy. Screw moves here. So far, I've used this on about 4 different projects so far. The screw through the brass is still working really well. I really do like this method over some of the others. So really easy to pull apart. Pull the pins. Pull that indexer pin. Pin here. Bar comes off. That easy. And it's not super heavy. Another thing I like. I'll put it under there. I'll flip these back to get them out of the way. Same thing here. A little bit of a loosen. Pop pins. Super easy to pull apart. Okay, we're going to talk about my final opinions, at least for now, until I've had more time to use them for the SPETOOL panel clamps. So, pros and cons. Kind of go on this back and forth. So, the pros on the right, cons on the left, or my right and left. The weight is great. It's got enough heft to it that it doesn't feel insignificant, but it's not hard to move around. It's pretty lightweight in that sense. I would probably, for my projects, I'll probably go get another set that's a little bit longer, get the 36-inch instead of just the 24-inch. So weight is a pro for sure. Another pro is, and this one's kind of surprised me, so this board is 27 inches. This is a 24-inch clamp. So how does that work, you might say? Well, because of their design, they actually are able to get a lot more use out of these than just the straight 24 that would be if they're overlaid. And I love the fact that they didn't cut it a little bit shorter to be sure that the total width was only 24, that you had some play. So that's a pro, and I haven't seen it in some of the competitors. So then a con. One of the things I don't like is I oftentimes end up needing to push a piece, or add a clamp. So if I'm adding more clamps, normally I just kind of shove one underneath. Well, it doesn't fit underneath. If you've got a few of these on there already. I'll show you here. See how that's not going to fit. I could try rolling it over like this, and these clamps are higher than the original, than these ones. That's not going to fit either. So I would definitely say that goes in the con category, in that I can't just slide another one easily under the material. One way they might be able to solve that is by potentially maybe replacing like this one with a pin instead of the bolt. Add another one of these. That might be cool. Another con is, you'll notice when I clamp these up, so put this back on, let's go back to pros. Super easy to lock these things together. I really like that method, makes it very simple. Now, the con is when you clamp up your material, use an indexing pen, right? Which is great because it makes it very easy to move that next point around. So if I'm doing a cut this big, I just move up the pin to where that cut's going to be. However, if I'm clamping, adding pressure from here to here, well, this is a rounded small surface. This is going to be a nice big surface. I haven't had any issues over here. This, however, absolutely have. And that is, you're pressing against here, it's going to dent your material. Here's an example of what that looks like. Now, and there's an even more drastic one. They do in their instructions call it out. They point out that you should have some piece of scrap on this side of your glue ups to take that. So as long as you remember to do that, it's okay. So far I haven't forgotten. That's the kind of thing I could see myself forgetting to do until I start to clamp it up and go, oh no, now I'm denting my material. Upside is I always make them bigger anyway. So worst case, I'm going to cut that off. But I would put it in the con category. Maybe if they were to, I don't know, add a piece that could be pushed in between that this attaches to, or you just use the scrap. So that's not the end of the world, but to give it a fair review, that I would say is a con. One thing I just noticed, and this has been moved around a bit, so is that these little legs, apparently somewhere in the process, I don't know if they came this way or if I did it, but they ended up a little bit tweaked. I'm sure I can straighten them out and put some across them. I don't know if I'd say that's a pro or a con, it's just a thing. You can put a piece of material on here, say a French cleat block, and then you'd be able to hang that up on the wall. You could use kind of a typical bar clamp fastener to hold that up as well. So there's a few ways you could store this. What else? So I will say the powder coat cover, or the powder coating, makes it real easy to clean off the glue. In fact, I have very little glue on this so far, even though on one of these I had a significant amount of squeeze out, and it just kind of popped right off. So super easy to clean. So far, screws have been nice and tight. One other thing that I did do when I was assembling it was make sure that you put this on the right way. I initially had it turned around. It's a me thing, but if I'm doing it, maybe somebody else would too. With that, then you got a screw that's sticking out here and is obviously going to screw up your material. So when you assemble it, make sure you get that put in right. Overall, I'm very happy with these. I will like I said before, they did send these to me to review. Full disclosure there, but I did tell them, you know, I'm going to be fully honest in my reviews, pros, cons, what I like, what I don't. Like I said, few things that are a little annoyances, but overall very happy with them. Guess with that, I'm about ready to wrap this video up. Please let me know in the comments down below if you have other clamps you'd like me to review or other tools, or if you have inputs on how I reviewed this or other options. The other thing I'll say is if I can get at least 50 likes on this video, then I will do a head-to-head between the SPETOOL panel clamp, the Rockler panel clamp, which I've done another review on and that's gone well, and a DIY version of the cauls and screws to do another one. Which would be obviously a lot cheaper. Oh, speaking of, that would be another one to go. I guess in the cons category, they're about on par for price in terms of versus some of the competitors. These are not cheap, right? You're going to be looking at, for the nice thing is for a 24-inch pair, you're under $200, but you're over $100. So depending on where they're at, if they have sales, like I said, they did send them to me, so I do have a link in the description. We'll give you 10% off if you use that link, so that'll save you a little bit more. It's definitely more expensive than a DIY, but I will say that it is much easier as far as convenience goes. There's less steps, it's faster, and when you're doing glue ups, anybody that's done a large glue up knows you're in panic mode the whole time anyway. And that's coming from a pretty chill guy, so like, like and subscribe, leave us reviews. If you like our funny shirts, check out the merch shop. That's also in the link in the description. We don't make any money off of it, just enough in there to be able to put it out there. Thank you. Appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, leave us comments. And now it's my turn to go have a drink.